Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
As we march our way into round 7 of the championship, we hop across the Atlantic and find ourselves in the Ardennes Forest at one of the most historic and fabled circuits in all of motor racing history. Welcome everyone to Spa-Francorchamps. My name is DJ Clark, joined here in the commentary booth by Andy Thompson with our director and producer Jamie Fluke behind the scenes. And Andy, This is a circuit that really needs no introduction whatsoever. It is as famous as it is dangerous.
It certainly is a great track for the drivers to race on. Obviously, plenty of practice probably had with a lot of these drivers doing the 24-hour event this weekend. So there's no excuse for not getting enough practice out on this track. But while we have a look at it, let's have a quick look around the track itself. All the people who actually don't know, so Spa-Francorchamps, 20 turns of treacherousness out on this course. 7 kilometers long, so we can see an overview of the track out on screen at the moment, but we'll soon start getting on a opening lap here. So the first start finish straight comes down to one of the famous corners, La Source, turn number 1. Coming around that corner, it's quite treacherous, got to get on the brakes pretty good before you go up the iconic Rayon and El Rouge circuit. Really fast corners coming up there to maximize the speed coming down the probably the prime overtaking spot coming down the Kemmel Straight here. A real fast corner before they come into the circuit of Lecumes. 7, 8 and 9 coming out there, get a real good exit down to the short blast down to Brussels or Rivière, depending on how you look at it, before they come up through turn number 11 into No Name. Coming down the extremely fast park through the fast left-handers of Pouon, turn number 12 out on track. Really good place to make a passing opportunity going on to the entry or the exit, but obviously be aware of going side by side with them cars. Coming out on the short straight down into the campus section, quite tight turns, turn 13, 14 and 15. Got to make sure that you do not take any of the grass coming onto them corners because they can be quite treacherous, and I'd expect to see some cars maybe spinning it around this part of the track before they go into turn 15 of Stavelot. And trying to get the maximum speed out of turn 16s before the short split down to Blanchimont. Fast left-hander, you know, you've really got to be on it to get the maximum speed out there before the very treacherous chicane or bus stop, as some drivers might call it. We would expect to see some late lunges coming down into this corner, and obviously some cars maybe getting it slightly wrong out on track. But that is your lap around Spa-Francorchamps. 7 kilometers long, 20 corners, and it's going to be a lot of action here tonight with the current grid that we do have, which DJ was a lot more than we were expecting from what the drivers were saying last week.
Yes, indeed. Plenty of drivers here out due to holiday experiences or things like that. And so we still have a fairly decent number of drivers looking in the mid to high 20s there for everyone. And one of the crucial things here that I think is going to happen over the course of qualifying right now, Andy, is it is open qualifying, as it always is in this GT3 trophy series. And that means that drivers are going to be able to take full advantage of the draft on the run on the Kemmel Straight, as well as the run out of Stavelot down through Blanchimont, and you've really, I think, got to be using that draft. If you are running by yourself, you're going to find your lap time significantly lower than if you were not.
Yeah, it definitely is. And another thing about this qualifying is you really need to get that banker lap on. I'm sort of expecting some of this field to not be setting a time out here tonight because it's such an easy track to get them pesky off tracks. And if you're on a fast lap halfway around this track, being 7 kilometers long, probably only going to get around about 3 laps in the 10-minute time frame, is that, you know, you're really going to be under pressure, and that's when you start getting them off tracks more. So expect some of the drivers maybe not setting some time here, trying to push the track to the absolute limit. But like you said, it's going to be interesting with the open setup. Certainly, as we're watching here, Carl Elson here coming down the Kemmel Straight, that slipstream effect, which is really strong in these cars coming down this part of the circuit. So gaining a couple of tenths there, and it's all about managing which car you pick up and which car you try to follow around this. But expect to see some fast, frantic qualifying laps come in.
Yeah, I think you're really going to see them start to fall on the board as we follow Adam Morrison here, one of the Track Scotland drivers, back in the AM category. And as always, we have those 3 classes out on track, but they are more than encouraged to be able to sort of duke it out with one another as they run. And that's always going to be an interesting thing here. And you talked a little bit earlier about setup and the way that that is going to run. I certainly think setup's going to be an interesting thing. We often see a sort of divergence in terms of how you want to tweak and tune the car. There are some drivers drivers that are going to go for straight line speed down the Camel Straight, try to maximize that, and then other drivers that are going to look to put a little bit more downforce into the car and try to maximize their time through Sector 2.
It certainly is. I mean, the first lap on Spa is always a treacherous occurrence, you know, and you've really got to make sure, and we've seen it in previous rounds of this GT trophy, is that it can be certainly not won on the first lap, but it certainly can be lost. And we've seen quite a few drivers coming up a cropper with getting into incidents on that first lap, which really puts pay to their race. And now a long race here tonight, one fast repair each driver has, and luckily for them, they're actually using the GP pits tonight and not the endurance, because if it was the endurance pits, that's a hefty amount of time to go through that pit lane. But still, you don't want to be off the pace in this opening lap. You want to be up there with the rest of the field to maximize your positions and try and gain some of the positions in the championship. And DJ, do you want to quickly take us through the championship standings at the moment?
Wouldn't want to miss it. As there you can see up at the top of those championship orders, a close running there with Christoph Herbino up at the top. Herbino obviously not here for today, as now they go through. You can see all of it breaking down there. Obviously some drop routes starting to come into play. Let's take a quick look there over at the Pro-Am standings as well as we mentioned here. 3 different classes out on track. A little bit more spread out there in the Pro-Am categories. You look all your way down and through. And then finally we'll take a look over at the amateur standings there, the AM category, as there it is. And our leaders out there, well, pretty spread out up at the top.
They certainly are. Otto Holt hasn't been here for the last 3 rounds. Did have a 60-point gap in the top of that amateur championship, but Russ Fowler has closed that gap. Unfortunately, Russ is not here tonight, so another opportunity for Otto Holt to actually extend his lead out. But obviously, Herbinu is here tonight, and he is currently our pole sitter. Only just under 4 minutes, 3 minutes left of this championship, of this qualifying session to go. Herbinu taking the top. Larson's there in second, and Jakob Behrens, I mean, at the moment, he's just on fire, is the Pro-Am driver. They're currently sat in third. Last 2 race winners and in the top 5 overall in the standings. I mean, he's certainly a man on fire. He did say last week he wasn't going to be here, but I suppose for the fact that he's just riding that crest at the moment, he decided he'll forgo his holiday and come racing instead.
Well, I can think a few better ways to spend a little bit of a holiday than to be able to go out and be racing. We watch now Ryan-Merrick Paluch as he works his way around the German, coming down out of that corner. And we talked a little bit about this in the pre-race before we came on air, Andy. But some of the surprising speed here that we're seeing from the Audis, whether it's Winkler, Paluch, Grossman's not really been able to set a representative time, but these Audis looked devilishly quick during during practice, and that's not exactly what we expected.
No, it's not. It's not really a car of choice, is the Audi around here in Spa, as our producer Jamie has enlightfully told us, is that the Audi is an absolute dog of a car around this track, but somehow these guys are actually getting some speed out of the car. It's a really quick car on the straight line speed, is the Audi. Always was a fan favourite with the iRacers, but sort of paid away and paled away into significance to the Ferraris and the Lambos and obviously now the Mercedes. But these guys here, Carl Winkler, Michael Palic, certainly flying the flag and flying it really well for the Audis at the moment.
Yeah, doing a fantastic job. But up at the charts, you can see there it is absolute German domination around this Belgian circuit, with BMWs and the Mercedes locking down the top 6 positions. And we don't get into another make of car that is made outside of Germany until you get all the way down to Christian Engelhardt there in P13. So it definitely looks like you want to have a BMW, a Mercedes, or an Audi around here today, as that is the way forward. We watch now on your screen the Alcantech driver there of Nikolai Thrain working his way around, getting a little bit of that draft from one of the NGL coding machines up in front of him. And as we said, that's going to be very, very crucial to try to maximize that draft. It's also going to be crucial, I think, in the race to maybe play with a little bit of fuel strategy there to be able to just tuck up behind another driver and sip a little bit on that tank.
Yeah, I think the only problem with fuel saving around this track is it's such a long track, 7 kilometers long, that trying to fuel save or trying to get that extra lap is going to be quite difficult for the drivers. But it depends how much lifting and coasting they do at the moment. But like I was saying at the start for this track, which is definitely hard on the qualifying times, we've currently got 5 drivers that haven't set a qualifying time, and we have literally got 10 seconds left. So I believe 2 of them are pit lane starters, Paul Collishaw and George Haig, but we've certainly got a couple of drivers that have succumbed to the off tracks around here, DJ.
Yes, they have, and they're not necessarily the traditional off-tracks that you always see. Sometimes it's from running a little bit wide, looking specifically going down out of Puha and areas like that. But we are ready to take you there to the starting grid as drivers get there ready to line up. Here it is, Christoph Herbeno, your championship leader, back in the series and back on pole position. Kjetil Larsen's going to line up to his outside in row 1. Jacob Behrens continues his epic run in the Pro-Am category, qualifying in 3rd with Tom Dowd while flanking him. Sandro Marsani will be P5, followed by Jacob Toffs, with Carl Winkler and Mark Fletcher in row 4 behind them. Alexander Scarrett will be the next Pro-Am driver, with Mike Paluch in P10. Nikolai Thrain and Martin Deckens round out your top 12. In 13th, it's going to be the first of our AM drivers out on the circuit in the form of Christian Engelhardt, with Greg Hubler in 14th to his outside. Then it's Tim Perry and Martin Penkava in 16th, Ronald Grossman and Matthew Chris behind them. Christopher Otterholt will be the second AM driver, with Christoph Wagenwetter next to him in P20. Gavin Gardner lines up in 21st, followed by Stuart Wyness, with Belis Taruxoy and Rene Hugenhout in 24th position. 25th is going to be Chris Rance, with David Gill to his outside. Michael Griffin and Sean Crenley-Schwab will line up in the row behind them, with Adam Morrison and Jose Wilcox in 30th. Tommy Molyord will be 31st, with Graham Lynch flanking him. Kieran Smart, Paul Collishaw, Leon Verhelst, and James Chapman rounding out your top 36, and Gordon Haug will be in the back of the field. A combination of pit lane starts and drivers who were unable to set a time there, making up about that last 5 on the grid.
Yeah, certainly there. Kieran Smart, obviously the pro driver right at the back of the field, so expect him to try to make moves early on to try and get up towards the Pro-Am. So caught a little bit short there. Obviously was one of the people that didn't set a qualifying lap, so that's obviously the cause and effect of not doing that. Is he's mixing it up very much with the AMs and the Pro-Am drivers, but certainly going to be an interesting race, and it's going to be interesting to watch how Jacob Behrens does. 3rd out on the grid, I think that is his best qualifying positions, but does have his lot, as you can see there, the green Mercedes around him, his teammates around him to help him where he can, like Kjell Larsen, who is right next to him on the grid as well. So it's going to be an interesting start in the first lap for the Pro-Am driver right at the front of the field.
Yes, they are, but right now all eyes go to Christoph Herbeno here as he immediately gets on the loud pedal, and we get racing here at Spa. It is a brilliant getaway there for Herbeno. Kjetil Larsen and his teammate there of Jacob Behrens going to be a little bit side-by-side going down into La Source. Lots of side-by-side action through the rest of the field. A little bit of bumping and banging there. I think that was Paluch maybe getting into the side there of Nikolai Thrain, but it looks like the majority of the field is through and clean through La Source as they make their way plunging down the hill into Eau Rouge.
Yeah, definitely is a nice clean start there. He's got a little bit of a gap, but Jacob Behrens has managed to jump his teammate Kjetil Larsen for that 2nd place at the moment. So the Pro-Am driver gaining a position off the grid and getting into 2nd place. He's in a fortunate position having his teammate, but his teammate's coming along inside, so the roles reverse again. Larsen's manages to take over that 2nd place from Behrens, but they're the moves that we're expecting to see around this track. Is coming out at the end, right down the end of the Kemmel Straight, coming into the Coombe to be able to get the passing moves done. But the whole of the field looking relatively clean at the moment. Hopefully I haven't commentated cast it, coming down here into Rivage.
Little bit of side-by-side there, going down through the very, very long right-hander 180-degree turn, plunging down the hill. As there, we've got a slow Lamborghini. That is Engelhardt. I wonder if that's maybe an off-track there that he picked up, going very, very slowly down into Puhong, going to slot his way back into line all the way down to 21st.
Yeah, the trials and tribulations of them slow down penalties. He was doing really well at the moment, but now he's being brought back into 21st position, finding himself second place in the AM, and the usual suspect Otterholt there in 18th place, taking over the lead of the amateur championship. But Engelhardt, if that was just a slowdown, which I think it was, he will be back on the pace, obviously showing his pace in the qualifying, getting into the top half of the grid, so pretty sure he'll be tracking down the first place in the AM Otterholt at the moment as they come through Blanchimont for the first time, heading down into the treacherous chicane into turn number 19. Prime opportunity for lots of incidents to happen, but keeping it rather clean at the front of the grid, so I wonder if the back half will be the same.
Looks like Chris there tried to take a little bit of a look down to the inside. This and going into Lecum going to be the prime overtaking opportunities, but doesn't seem like a whole lot of drivers getting caught out there going down into the bus stop. They're going to keep things nice and neat. A little bit of a fan out there in the front. I believe that was the Ferrari there of Gardner and Engelhardt going side by side. It looks like Gavin Gardner is going to be able to get that position over the Lamborghini, and now it's going to be Christoph Regenwetter trying to see if he's able to get anything there over that AM driver in the Lambo. Going to not just have to tuck up behind here for right now, not looking like he's going to be able to get anything. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, Kjetil Larsen putting some pressure to Christoph Herbino, just tucking up behind in that draft.
Yeah, it definitely is. The front two getting a little bit of a gap there between Behrens in third place. Only about half a second, but so not too far away, but Behrens has certainly got a big pile of pro drivers just lining up behind him to take that opportunity. But Behrens has already shown his credentials in previous races, showing that he can certainly mix it up with the pros. In second place in the pros, we've got Alexander Scaret there, his teammate in 8th place, and Nathaniel Fain in 10th at the moment. So big gap between Behrens in 3rd and Scaret in 8th, so even more valuable points for the IGV Pro-Team team there. Oh, there's a car going wide there, going around Pouhon.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, that's Thrain just getting it a little bit wrong, and such an easy corner to do that on. It's just the lightest brush of the brakes. You've really got to have maximum commitment, maximum trust in the down first of your car to be able to get that around there, and Thrain just getting it a little bit wrong, seeing him jump down a couple of positions. He's going to have to focus in on Martin Deckens up ahead of him now to be able to try to gain in, hopefully being able to get a podium here in the Pro-Am category.
Yeah, certainly. It's just a slight little mistakes on this track, but they really do hurt you because the mistakes that often get made are on the exit of the really fast corners, and if you lose a lot of time, then you can lose a lot of positions, as we've seen by a couple of drivers. But we're certainly looking here now at Tim Perry mixing it up very much with Martin Crisp and Greg Hubler just behind him in the Mercedes as well. So good to see that the McLaren is back on the grid again.
Always know that's a favorite of yours there, Andy. And as we look our way through the rest of the grid, we did get a little note there from our director, Jamie Fluke, noticing that Kjetil Larsen doing a lot of lifting going down the Kemmel Straight. So looks like he's pretty content to stay where he is. Maybe has the speed to be able to get things done. We're going to go back and take a look at a replay here. This is James Chapman. Ooh, getting it all wrong going through Blanchimont.
Oh, absolute classic mistake coming there, getting a little bit too much speed. You know, normally you have a slight lift in these GT3 cars, but as you're pushing for position, you may forget to do that, and that's a classic mistake, touching the grass. Unfortunately, as soon as you do that, it spits you out, hits the wall, so that'll be him going back into the pits for his fast repair.
Yes, it will, and thankfully, as we kind of mentioned earlier, not running the endurance layout here, so that pit stop time not going to be an absolute killer, but still going to be very, very tough to try to recover from. As we watch here, Kjetil Larsen up into the lead of the race, able to get by Christoph Herbino, and we've really got about a 4 or 5 car train right now with Larsen, Herbino, Behrens, Marsani, Dadswell, and Tofts all running up at the front of this field.
Yeah, that's the thing. The front runners can get a little bit of a gap, but that slipstream coming down the Kemmel Straight, as long as you're within that range, it will all close up again. So we did see a gap between the front two and Behrens, but now that gap has really come down to 0.3 of a second. So it pretty much concertinas as soon as they get down there. And that's one of the big draw points of this track, is that as long as you're racing, as we watch Tim Perry here going side by side with Chris trying to get him on the outside. So we'll have the inside line here going into Stavelon. And unfortunately, the McLaren driver will have to yield because that really is a one-car corner. If you try to go too wide around there, you certainly end up in the kitty litter on the left-hand side. So Tim Perry doing the right thing there and just backing off. But this track is really treacherous for that, and it's really good for the racing side as we watch Paul Collishaw. Where is that? I'll try that down. Puon again, so another victim.
Yeah, another victim. Looks like he dives into the corner, able to get that first apex right, but just carries a hair too much speed, gets the car looped around there, and then is able to catch it, but it brings him back onto the grass, and that's going to be enough to send him around into that paved runoff area there. So Collishaw, remember, one of the pit lane starters here, he's still got a lot of work to do, but thankfully he is going to have a little bit of a target right in front of him in the form of Jose Wilcox here, who also finds himself far down in the order. We've got a little bit of 3 wide here coming down the main straightaway. That's going to be Lynch, Griffin, and Molyard. I think that Molyard there may have had a little bit of a problem. Excuse me, that's Michael Griffin. Could that have been a cut course penalty?
Well, over that, he's got some severe damage. You can see some damage on the front left of his. Does he have a snaking steering wheel? Certainly looks like that car is not tracking straight. So let's have a look at a replay here. Coming down into the famous bus stop here. Does he get hit or what happens here? Oh yeah, gets clobbered on the exit there from one of the Track Scotland drivers, and then gets another hit from the car in, I think that's 31st position there, coming out there. So we'll have some damage on us. I'm surprised, I suppose it was just after the pit entrance, so it's going to be a long, lonely lap for him to try and get back to that pits, but a lot quicker than towing.
Exactly, and my goodness, look at this, an absolute hornet's nest here for about 23rd on back. Lots of action going in there. I saw Gill diving down to the inside. Up ahead of them, Penkava going at it side by side. The battle that we focus on right now is Taruksoi being chased down by Kieran Smart right now. That's Porsche versus BMW, and that Beamer trying to have a little bit of a look to the outside there, going down into Puhal, but not going to go for it. You really can't get that pass done through there. The most you can do is, there's a car going off in the back. I think that's Rance in the Porsche.
It certainly is, and he's caused a catalogue there. You saw a Lamborghini up the front there as well of Sean Cranley Swash, getting it slightly wrong coming through Puyon. And that's the thing, if you're close racing coming through that corner, a car loses it. It almost causes a domino effect down the field. Luckily only 2 cars involved, and we'll have a look at a replay of what happened here. I wonder if it's a carbon copy of Paul Collishaw, and unfortunately just slid right onto the racing line, and unfortunately the drivers coming around had to do avoiding action, and unfortunately Cranley Swash just spun the car on the outside of Puyon. So luckily only 2 cars involved, as there was about 4 cars that had to do avoiding action there.
Yeah, and driving the Porsche there, it is so easy to do that, specifically coming through Puhal, that high-speed corner, rear-engine, rear-wheel drive. We've talked so many times about how the rear end of that car likes to break away under high speeds, and that's exactly what it did. Nice little battle here, side by side. This is Marsani and Dadswell. Somebody's got to blink as they go into Eau Rouge, and it's going to be Dadswell.
Oh, that was so close there. What I am noticing at the front, I don't know if Larson's just put on his afterburners, because he has now opened up a 1.5 second gap over Herbenew in second place. So he's having it a hard way with Behrens trying to offer the pro champion a little bit of competition here coming through Melbourne there, and he manages to get the move done. So the Pro-Am driver taking over the Pro driver there for second place overall. So Lawson's will be loving that, as we watch Tim Perry just trying to dive it down the inside of the Mercedes manager. Going to lose 2 places here is Grossman. So losing 2 places in 2 corners there, Grossman. Just getting it slightly offline and giving the opportunity for both the McLaren and the Audi to capitalise on that.
Yeah, great heads up there from Ronald Grossman, recognizing that chance and just diving down to the inside there of Hubler, and that is going to allow for that Audi to continue to rise up through the field. We're going to jump back here to check out a replay. This is Leon Verhelst coming down, looks like into the bus stop, I believe. Is he going to get a little how you do from the back? Oh. Yes, he is.
So unfortunate. Obviously, the car behind him there just went in far too deep and pretty much used the Porsche as a road stop to try and slow up that Ferrari. But that's the classic mistake that can be made coming down into that chicane in turn number 19. And I'm expecting that not to be the last one of this race. Currently 10 minutes, 11 minutes into this hour-long race, and obviously getting into the realm soon enough for the early pit stoppers, DJ. And we saw Montreal, the early pit stoppers really didn't pay off last week. So it'd be interesting to see what the field does here tonight and who will win out.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see, especially on this longer lap, and the combination of the draft being so important around here. I've got to think that probably your best way to do it is find a buddy to sort of pit with to be able to come in and be able to not lose that draft going down the long straightaways. And so if you may be able to have a teammate come in and pit with you, that would be the ideal situation, but we'll have to see how it plays out here. Currently, we watch Alexander Scarrett in that long train up in the top 10. These guys all running with an effective draft range of one another, and that's really the crucial key here, especially in the middle stages of this race. You do not want to lose that draft in the front of you.
No, if you lose that draft, you're losing at least half a second per lap, so you really do not want to pit on your own. And I suppose that's the beauty, as we watch here, 3 wide coming, nearly a 3 wide coming down into the Coombs, but thinking slightly better of it. There was Carl Winkler in that Audi just behind. So Carl Winkler certainly on a push at the moment, but that's the pro driver behind 3 Pro-Am drivers. As we go back here to a replay of Christian Engelhardt. Is this another instant coming around Blanchimont here? Does he? Oh, that is unusual. Hits that inside wall really hard, and that will be damage on the car. You see the front of that Lamborghini pretty much stove in, but the lucky thing for him, he is quite close to the pits, but will be losing a mountain of time traversing that pit lane.
Yeah, he certainly will, but thankfully here for Engelhardt, with about 12, 13 minutes down in this race, I think he just might be able to eke out a pit window here. We're going to have to see how it plays for him. We look back on a battle right now for the AM category. This is Taruxoy and David Gill as they run, working their way around right now. Taruxoy trying to close down actually on Adam Morrison up ahead of him. 1, 2, 3. This is a 3-way battle for that AM category right now, trying to see if they're able to get their way around here, and it looks like that they're setting themselves up for a nice little draft going down into the bus stop.
Yeah, it definitely is. Obviously, as we saw there, Engelhardt just having a real change of fortune, doing really well in qualifying, getting up into the front half of the grid. Having that slow down on that first lap really put pay to him down in 21st position, and then having that unfortunate instant there coming around Blanchimont. So going from the top half of the field to near enough the back of the field with Christian Engelhardt. So not having the greatest of day, but like our commentator, our producers said, he can actually make it into the pit, get that fast repair, get that pit stop done, and still make it to the end of the race. So it's not all done and dusted for Christian Engelhardt if he plays his card right here, but we're certainly now watching out on track. I mean, it's just like a long procession here, probably from around about P14 with Tim Perry, the McLaren driver in front. You can just see how close they are all the way down to P22. So real big midfield battle here at the moment.
Yeah, big midfield battle, and very, very close running across the field. The draft allowing everybody to stay close as we watch here. Wyness getting a nose ahead there of Hubler, but Hubler's not going to let that position go quietly. The track switches back there coming through the second part of Lecombe. Now they're going to work down into Malmedy. It's going to be advantage Hubler there if he's careful, but he's going to have to fall back. Wyness moves up into 16th overall.
Yeah, that was great defense there from Wyness to keep that position, because Greg Hubler was not giving him an inch. Luckily, he had the faster speed coming out of Malmedy, coming down into Brussels or Rivière, whichever one you want to call it, but managing to keep that position. But certainly knows now that Hubler is behind him and does have that fast Merc, and seems to have it set up in a way that on the straight line speed he does make up that corner. But there's our front runner at the moment, Kettle Larson, pulling out a decent lead at the moment, 2.2 seconds over his teammate Behrens. And I don't know if there's a little bit of team tactics here between himself and Herbenu. It's just to say, if you can, just try and back up Herbenu a little bit to try and let me get away.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what he's trying to do here as we watch a little bit of side-by-side between Nikolai Thrain and Martin Deckens now as they go down through Blanchimont side-by-side. Deckens going to be able to hold that out for now, and it now looks like that Thrain's going to be under attack there from Carl Winkler, who recognizes an opportunity, chucks it down to the outside of the first part of the chicane, now going to be down to the inside, maybe a little bit of contact there between the two, the BMW with a slight bit of tire spin, but going to be able to get ahead, and now here comes Paluch looking to make this an Audi-on-Audi battle as they work their way down into La Source. That's not going to happen. Now it's Winkler trying to keep that move going outside of La Source, but forced wide.
Yeah, get pushed out a little bit wide there, and has opened that up for Michael Palic to take the position of the Audi driver. So the Audi's just swapping positions slightly there, but Thrain giving no quarters through them corners and literally putting out his elbows on the exit of La Source, pushing out Carl Winkler there, and obviously giving the opportunity to Michael Palic's teammates as we watch a little bit of snaking here down the Kemmel Straight just to try and break that toe there. Deckins and Thrain's just trying to get onto the back of Deckins for that Pro-Am. Third place overall, that is the position there that they're fighting over.
Yes, it is a very close battle and a very, very long train here in the back. This is Hubler, Wyness, Otterholt, Gardner, it looks like, and Penkava, all running very, very close to one another here. This is the battle right now, and further back in the field, though, we go to Morrison and Taruxoy side by side going down into the corner. Porsche versus BMW. It looks like that Porsche is going to be able to pull out on top.
Yeah, that's a great move there. That's for second place overall in the AM. These three amateurs really battling up, and Alan just going a little bit wide here through Riviere, and that has given the opportunity for the Audi driver of David Gill to get alongside, but unfortunately didn't have the speed to be able to get the move done through No Name coming down here into Pouhon, but is right on his rear bumper. He doesn't really want to be trying to pass through Pouhon, but putting under a lot of pressure is David Gill on Alan Morrison at the moment in the BMW. So trying to force a mistake maybe is the tactic for the day for David Gill.
Yeah, I certainly think it is, and we've seen a lot of those mistakes eke their way through. Herbino now having to defend a little bit here from Tom Dadswell. Toff's in behind there as well. Another one of the hard point by Delta Sport drivers as they snake their way through the bus stop. Coming back on to the start-finish straight here as the clouds continue to come in. Darkness continues to set on this field as it is at about, if I can do my math here correctly, at about 2140 in the night. So we may see some full darkness by the time this ends.
Yeah, quite possibly, and obviously a lot of these drivers will be used to it. Obviously driving around this track at night. So not very well lit track, but it's almost like second nature once you've driven that many laps around here, being one of the probably favourite tracks on iRacing for the drivers. But as we see here, from second place all the way down to fifth place, just all lining up at the moment. But that Mercedes and the setup that those guys in the IG coaching's got is immense, because even with a slipstream, Herbinu cannot make a pass at the moment on bearings. So that setup they've got in that Merc car is certainly made for straight line speed.
It certainly is. And if you want to get a setup like that or any other type of great setup, go ahead and head on over to Virtual Racing School, where you can improve your on-track performance with over 50+ data packs for road and oval racing. Get those setups, use the track guides that they have, as well as data analysis software and one-on-one coaching. As we watch this battle right now, none of these drivers need coaching. Some of the very best in iRacing as they run, trying to see what everybody is going to be able to get. This is down through Sector 2, really the area of the track where you're not going to be able to have any sort of overtaking.
Yeah, it definitely is. Even though this is quite a wide track, it's quite difficult to make that overtaking move. As we've seen previously, cars trying to make overtaking, which certainly if you've got a car trailing behind, like we're watching out on screen at the moment, is you give the opportunity for the third car, if you try and go offline to make that overtaking move, get it wrong, it gives the opportunity for that third place car to sort of snipe that position off you. So although the track looks quite wide for these GT3 cars where they can go 3 wide, there's really only one fast line around here in Spa, and if you come off that fast line, you've got to be really committed to making that move, otherwise you are open for an attack from the car behind. We're just watching Nicola Frayne here leading this group with Michael Palic and Carl Winkler just behind the 2 pro drivers behind a Pro-Am driver at the moment. But Frayne is doing a great job holding these guys off at this moment in time. But the Mercedes certainly seems to be the car of choice around here. Awesome straight line speed, and it's sort of almost negating that slipstream effect.
Yeah, it really kind of is. Just able to get such a big muscle going forward, such a powerful way to go. We focus a little bit farther back here on Ronald Grossman in that Audi. He's got 2 other fellow Audis up ahead of him in the form of Paluch and Winkler, but holding the banner here, trying to close in on that McLaren of Tim Perry, the lone McLaren in the field right now as they run.
Yeah, it definitely is. Just looking down the timing tower, and as we thought, Kieran Smart, who started at the back of this grid, has made up 14 positions at the moment, up to P19. So a man on the charge as a pro driver. Didn't set a qualifying time, that's why he was at the back of that grid. But as we see here, Fane just really trying to be super defensive, trying to keep that position. But unfortunately, the car number 10 Deccan's managed to get past him there.
Yeah, managing to get past him there, and you saw the little bit of a look from behind there from Paluch, trying to see if there was anything. Here is David Gill. Looks like he's falling off a little bit of this battle in the AM category. Remember, we were focused on this a little bit earlier in the race between Sorokzoy and Morrison directly up ahead of them. Gill looking like he fell back a little bit down the Kemmel Straight, but that's not entirely unsurprising. That Audi, not known for its straight line speed, I would much more expect it to be able to gain time here through the middle sector. This Audi always known for having great rotation.
Yeah, it definitely is, but it's also not the best on tyre wear as the Audi, so 22 minutes into an hour-long race should still be on point at the moment, but will start falling off slightly, where obviously the Mercedes, the BMW certainly a lot better on tyre wear than the Audi. But David Gill is doing a great job at the moment, just trying to keep up with these guys. But I think it's exactly that. Down the straight, he loses a little bit of time, but then makes it all up in these twisty sections. So certainly looks at the moment that David Gill's setup is very much made for this twisty section of the Spa course and not the flat out speed at the top end. But he just needs to keep in contact with Adam Morris in front, just to try and use that slipstream, which will help him when he comes through the twisty, because we saw how far off the Kemmel Straight he was, and now he's right behind the rear bumper of the BMW driver.
Well, I think part of that may have been a little bit of a mistake there from Morrison coming through campus. It looked like that he just kind of missed the apex clip of the curb there, runs a little bit wide coming through Blanchimont. I think Morrison's starting to feel a little bit of the pressure here from David Gill, and indeed Gill takes a look down to the inside, but now he's got to watch out from behind him. That's Chris Rance there in the Porsche looking interested, and I believe that was Tommy Mollyor diving down pit lane.
Yeah, so hopefully one of our first pit lane starts going early in this race, 23 minutes. And this is where we normally see the drivers trying to do that undercut for the pit stops in around about this time. So we'll keep an eye on it and see how Tommy Mollord does when he comes on his exit. Maybe came in because a lot of the cars in front of him were a lot slower. So come in, get a bit of free air to be able to do faster laps and hopefully overtake them on the pit stops when the rest of the guys do eventually pit. But during the battle here, up the front with Martin Pencarva in 21st position, getting a little bit there. Chris Hugenhout having a really good battle to try and get that battle there for 21st position overall. So these two having their own little mini battle sort of down the back end of the field. So it's always good when you're driving around these hour-long racing, DJ, to have somebody that you're having a really good battle. It doesn't make you feel that it's just another day in the office, I suppose.
Yeah, and that really is the thing. I mean, you talk to these drivers, they all want to be in a battle. You don't want to be out there running by yourself necessarily. You'd much rather climb out of the sim having battled for a driver fiercely across the entire hour long, not only because it makes it more enjoyable and that's where you go, but you often find that if you've got that driver that's running on similar pace with you, it's going to up your game a little bit. It's going to make you drive better because you're going to have a carrot in front of you to try to pull in.
Yeah, it definitely is. But one guy who wouldn't mind being out on his own, who has currently got it at the moment, is Larson, our first place. Has currently got a gap of 2.3 seconds over his teammate Jakob Behrens in second place. So that gap just extending ever so slightly at the moment. So Larson's not really being able to capitalise on having his teammate behind him to try and scamper away from the rest of the field. The rest of the field will still be able to see him, but certainly being held up at the moment by Jack Behrens, our Pro-Am driver there in second place. If he can finish anywhere near this, I mean, it's going to be an ecstatic day if he can actually finish on the podium against all these excellent pro drivers around him, like Kerben, who's currently the pro champion or pro standing champion at the moment. It's certainly giving him a headache, should I say, in this opening part of the race.
Yes, he is. As there we see behind, that's Dadswell and Tofts looking a little bit interesting going down into Lecum, trying to see what they are able to do. It does look like there that the two Altitude Esport drivers are chasing Herbino and Tofts there for hardpoint by Delta Sport as they go down through the corner. this has a little bit of a potential of a battle to kick off here, not only for position, but for those teams. We also look back here further in the field, Stuart Wyness holding off Otterholt and Kieran Smart behind him. Another little bit of a teammate running together there, as Smart and Wyness are both members of that Track Scotland brigade.
Yeah, they are. They need to try and work together to back it up, to try and give the opportunity there. As we watch Paul Collyshaw again. Oh, he's disappeared on my screen.
Yeah, it looks like a little bit of a connection issue there for Paul. That's strange. We haven't really seen any connection issues from Paul earlier. As there we see him coming down through the corners. That must have just been a little bit of an internet glitch. That's what that means when you see that.
Yeah, definitely. But not having the best of days, Paul Collyshaw. Normally a midfield runner up high in that Pro-Am categories, but really suffering today. Second to last in the Pro-Am category at the moment, and not having the best of days. But each of the drivers do get 2 drop rounds through this 12-round season, so all is not lost if you have one race that doesn't quite go to plan at the moment. But certainly what is going to plan is that IGL Coatings team. They currently sat first, second, and then you've got Scarrett, who's down in 8th. So you've got 3 IGL Coating iRacing team members in the top 8 positions at the moment. I mean, certainly from a team championship point of view, they've got it perfectly matched in the current rounds that have been going on. This IGL Coating, really close knit team that will work together, as we've heard previously on commentary when we've got them into the commentators box. You know, a really well knit team, and always helping to share out. So maybe one of the tactics they are looking at is on this pit stop is maybe all of them pitting at the same time. So if they do pit earlier than the rest of the field, all 3 of them can work together to slipstream each other.
Well, they very well could be doing that, and one of the ways that you can be able to run some of those expert strategies like you see IGL Coatings doing is to install SDK Gaming. Add a virtual live HUD to iRacing to show timing towers, enhanced relative boxes, mini-maps, and of course, one of the most accurate fuel calculators on the market. And you can stream to Twitch with the most complete overlay on iRacing, broadcast your leagues and series. SDK Gaming syncs with your commentary teams to focus on drivers and overlays with your broadcaster. Adjust your team strategy on the fly with the most accurate live timing on iRacing. Go ahead and check out SDK Gaming. Continue to watch here. Mike Paluch trying to close in behind here, a little bit behind Martin Deckens. Those 2 BMWs, excuse me, the Mercedes and the BMW of Deckens and Thrain there directly in front of him as they run, trying to see if he's going to be able to get anything. And Andy, as we get into this pit stop cycle, this is the moment when you're stuck up behind somebody that you think about maybe diving into the pits a lap earlier than you need to be able to try to get that jump.
Yeah, it definitely is. But then, like you were saying earlier on, it's the other end of the spoon is by saying, well, if I'm going to dive in early, I'm going to lose my slipstream. So, you know, you've got to pay off the 2 against you. If you feel that you're a lot faster than the drivers in front, then coming in that lap early, as we watch Jacob Toffs here coming in early, that's unusual. Coming in on his home and not having his teammate Urbanu coming in as well to give him that support. So the 2 teammates there not really working together, and hopefully Toffs can come out and latch on to some rear markers, because if he's lost that slipstream, he'll sort of be pushed out of that top 8 battle going on for the top positions.
Yeah, he certainly will, and I wonder here at this point if maybe that's a deliberate decision by Hardpoint, by Delta Sport, to come down pit lane, maybe try to split the strategies a little bit, have Toffs come in a little bit early, and then hold Herbino a little bit longer, try to maximize their position. That could be their logic. It'll be interesting to talk to them after the race, but I've got to agree with you that I think running without a slipstream here could be massively detrimental to their cause.
It certainly is. It's such a strong part of this track is the slipstream effect. If you lose it, you can lose, like I said, at least half a second per lap. And depending on how many laps the front runners are now going to go without pit stopping, that could really hurt Toffs Dame. He's down there in 23rd position, and literally, as I thought, he's stuck in no man's land at the moment, not got any slipstream of the car in front. So it's really going to be put pay to his chances today for getting that top positions. But I may be wrong. I've known to be wrong. So we'll certainly see after the round of pit stops where Jacob Toft's actually comes out and where he ends up. But at the moment, doesn't have that slipstream effect. So we'll be losing time on the front runners.
Yeah, he certainly might. He could also, though, as he runs down through the second sector, it will be nice. He may be able to gain some time there through the second sector, not having any of that aero wash in front of him. But one driver who does have that aero wash in front of him, that is Chris Rance here in the Porsche, trying to close down on David Gill. And remember, Gill looks like he is losing a whole bunch of time here. Remember, he was close behind Morrison and Taruxo way earlier on in the race, and he has lost a bucket load of time to the tune of about 4 seconds.
I know. I mean, he was right on the rear tail and having a real good fight with Taruxi and Morrison, but it's almost gone off a cliff as David Gill on his pace, but as Chris Rance now just behind him to maybe capitalise on whatever's going wrong awry without David Gill. But Christopher Herbenu now, one of the top runners, is coming again. So the two teammates literally coming on their own. So is this going to put pay to Herbenu getting that podium position? Only time will tell.
Yes, it will, and this maybe is a little bit of that strategy with Herbeno. Hopefully he'll be able to come out and hook up with Tofts to maybe help himself out. We watch, though, here of Ronald Grossman trying to be able to close down on Tim Perry up in front of him. Audi versus McLaren right now, working their way up the hill, and they don't want to fight too much because that Mercedes of Hubler has lost a little bit of time. He was further up in the field earlier on in the day, but has lost some time to them. You can see here as we ride on board with Grossman just the visual effect of that draft as he closes in on the back of that McLaren before they dive onto the binders, and that McLaren spits its signature fire out the back.
Yeah, it definitely is a great vision to behold, that McLaren with the barbecue add-on pack. It was great to see. But yeah, as you saw there, I mean, you were saying that Uber has managed to get off the back of this, but is now right up onto the rear bumper there of Grossman in front of him, the Audi driver. So, I mean, that's just the power of that slipstream effect, Andy. You could be about half a second to a second behind, and then by the end of the Kemmel Straight, literally fighting again right back. But needs to keep on the tail coach. So these two seem to be very quick around this twisty, tight section of the Spa, which is where the Mercedes is really losing grip with them. So he just needs to keep on the rear bumper there of Grossman in front to give him the maximum effect, because we've already seen the power of that Mercedes down a straight line speed. But one guy who is not really extending his lead massively out in front, about 0.3 of a second faster from where we last saw him, is Gert Larsson's there, currently leading this race. He's been leading it from around about lap 4 as he comes into the pits now. Will his teammate behind come in as well? Yes, expected. So as we see the big onslaught of the front runners all coming into the pit lane, so deciding not to lose that slipstream effect.
Well, and with about 34 minutes down in this race, I wonder if that's really the end of the pit stop window here for a lot of drivers. And indeed, it looks like the majority of the field all coming down here. Oh, that was Tim Perry, though, throwing it away down through the bus stop.
He may have got a cut off there, so he might actually get a penalty there for cutting the pit lane. So we watch Tim Perry here coming down into the chicane here in turn number 19. Does he just overshoot it? He does, overshoots it, and then tries to get in and cuts over the green part of the pit entry line. So it'll be interesting to see if he comes out a lot further behind than them guys from serving a penalty.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there we see Larsson's going to be able to come out ahead. Herbeno going to have to put on the loud pedal. He is going to have a little bit more of warmed up tires here. He's going to be aggressive on Jacob Behrens, trying to make the move down into Eau Rouge. They're going to be side by side up the hill over Radio, and Herbeno gets it done.
Wow, I mean, what a brave move there, going side by side of Rouge and Radion. Normally comes to blows, but that's just these drivers out in front giving each other the room to be able to do. But this is not over now. Nearly 3 wide coming down here into Lecoombs. A little bit of a hit there by Mark Fletcher on Herbenu behind. Mark Fletcher coming alongside here, coming down Malmedy, but Herbenu just manages to get the move done. Jack Behrens now trying to dive down the inside here. Will he be able to get Mark Fletcher on the inside? Is side by side, but will be slightly offline. Mark Fletcher will have the inside line for the next time, so should keep that position, but extremely close racing here at the front end of the grid.
Very, very close racing. You can't get much closer than that. Great respect on these drivers. And there's a dive down to the inside for Behrens into Puhal. And he's going to run just a hair wide. Is that going to open up a little bit of a door here for Toffs? Yes, it is. He's going to be able to get a nose ahead of Fletcher as now they come down into Fanyi's. Careful, careful, careful. Backing themselves off and going back into single file.
Oh, Behrens obviously deciding to take that off track, and Mark Fletcher behind is not a happy chappy at the moment. So you just saw there Behrens going really deep into Puhal, getting that off track. Obviously the drivers do have a certain number of off tracks, and I think Behrens was using his very much tactically there to get past Mark Fletcher. I know Mark Fletcher is a little bit annoyed, but them are the rules, I suppose you could say, and unfortunately he just needs to calm down a little bit, because that was getting a little bit touchy into the next corner where Mark Fletcher has got the red mist in front of him. But he just needs to be aware of Toffs behind him there, who's actually not lost a lot of time as he goes so inside here to turn number 19, but just backs out there. So luckily Toffs didn't lose too much time going in that earlier by losing that slipstream. Must have been able to carry a lot more speed with having a clear track, like you were saying, DJ.
Yeah, very much so. And now this is going to put Dadswell up into second place. Herbino trying to close down on him right now. And that's going to really separate the top three. The battle now for fourth on back, it looks like, is there's about a 2-second gap between Larson and Dadswell, and then about a 1.4-second gap between Dadswell and Herbino, and then another 2-second gap between Herbino and Behrens. So those top three really separated themselves out, but coming out as he came in was Kjetil Larson, able to do a great job here holding on to the lead. The question's going to be is if he is going to be able to hold on to this lead and grow the gap. In the early stages of the race, remember, it just kind of stabilized at about 2.5 seconds, not moving from that position at all.
No, it didn't. But one thing I have noticed is Tom Dadswell has just done an excellent move in that pit stop strategy. Was sat there around about 4th place, but has managed to leapfrog his place up to 2nd overall. I'm just looking at the pit stops times, and there's not a lot of difference between all the top runners as well. You know, around about 0.2, 0.3 of a second. So has really mastered that entry and exit speed as Tom Dadswell managed to gain a couple of positions. And unfortunately for Larson's in front, he doesn't have the luxury of having his teammate behind him in second place, so really needs to try and push on, and that's where the mistakes could come into play. He is extending that gap to 2.8, 2.9 of a second at the moment, so seems to be pushing it quite hard at the moment to try and break Dadswell and able to get away, but that's where the mistakes can crop in. So Larson's not got it all his own way at the moment, and he certainly could have a race on the hands by the end of this hour-long race.
Well, if you want to be a driver there that minimizes those mistakes, go ahead and check out the Apex Racing Academy with 29 data packs, setups, track guides, and more. Oh, there's a driver spinning around. Oh my goodness, we've got 2 of them off.
Oh, no way. That is terrible. That was Mark Fletcher there, who was in 3rd place overall. You know, after that move, maybe that red mist was still there. It'd be great to get a replay of what actually happened there out on track, but certainly as Fletcher has come off the worst. So coming down here in to Blanchimont, and we see there Toffs getting on the grass, slightly overhit between the two of them. Toffs goes on extremely wide but manages to save his car, and unfortunately you see there Fletcher just turning around and spinning, and he certainly came off the worst for that. But Toffs going on the grass there through Blanchimont was always going to be a risky move. As you can see there, Mark Fletcher just getting slightly tapped from behind, literally just loses control, and see there Toffs just going by him.
Yeah, and I've got to say they're a good catch for Fletcher to be able to get that car at least pointed the right way, but he is going to find himself all the way down in 12th place. A lot more ground to make up, just a little bit up the road from them right now. We watch Nikolai Thrain holding off Paluch here, BMW versus Audi here, and as they are this close, I've got to think with 20 minutes left to go, Paluch is going to be looking to try to capitalize here. Now battle in the back between Smart and Perry. Perry down to the inside of that McLaren, spitting flames down into Lecombe, trying to see what if he can get it, and there he's able to go.
Yeah, just able to defend there. Goes slightly wide there coming out of Malbody. Opens up the opportunity for the BMW down the inside. So it's going to be side by side through Riviere. coming around this corner, and if no, Tim Perry just loses the front end of that car, so that opens up the space there for Kieran Smart, who's up another position, up 17 places from where he started, from the back of the grid. So certainly a man on the charge at the moment is Kieran Smart from Track Scotland.
Yes, he is. Kieran trying to work his way up forward in the field right now, trying to close in on Hubler up ahead of him. It's about 4 seconds up the road, so that is going to be very, very tricky to do. I think he's going to be a lot more worried about Penkava trying to close in behind as they go. Working through, trying to get it, trying to see what that Penkava is going to be able to do. This the battle for 19th position.
It certainly is, and all heating up at the moment, but Stuart Wanessa seems to be doing a sterling job at the moment. He's literally looking forward and not behind him at the moment, the speed that he is carrying. But there's a bit of a gap now between himself and the car in front, who is our AM leader, Otto Holt. So to the tune of around about 3.6 seconds. So does have to worry about, like I say, Penkava behind him, who will have that slipstream effect. And there's no class difference in cars. These are 2 BMWs, and there's even 3 there just behind that could pay into the picture as well. So it's all going to be down to the setup of these 3 BMW cars. But joining back up with David Gill, and he has indeed lost that position to Chris Rance in front. So moving the wrong way down this grid, currently down in P29.
Yeah, down in P29 right now, and thankfully they've got about a 12-second gap back to Cranley Schwa, so that's going to be good news for them. But Gill not looking like he wants to give that position up here quite yet, trying to be a little bit aggressive down into the bus stop, and that actually forced a mistake there from Rance up ahead of him, but Gill not able to capitalize as Rance missed that first apex going down there. Now he's looking to get a little bit of a better run here. You actually don't want to try to make the move here into La Source. It's much better to wait and get that move done coming up and over the hill, even with the decreased power of the Audi. Looking here now is Wyness able to hold off another attack there from Penkava, but now Hugenhout and Gardner getting interested in this battle.
Yeah, so going from a 2-horse race to a 4-horse race here. 3 BMWs and 1 Ferrari in this battle at the moment. Schumaness at the head of it, doing an exceptional good job to hold off the ever onslaught that he's getting from Penkava. And Penkava will be having that slipstream, certainly going down the Kemmel Straight, but unable to do it on this current lap that they're on at the moment. So at the moment, Stuart Winnes doing a great job holding off the battle here for P19.
Yeah, doing a fantastic job, and we've seen some really good driving over the course of last season and this season for Stuart Wyness. You absolutely love to see it here for the Track Scotland driver. We focus now, though, on Gavin Gardner for the Verano Emilia Romagna team in one of the Ferraris, a car that's not necessarily used as much here in GT3 Trophy. A good all-around car, but known to chew up the tires a little bit.
Yeah, it's certainly very much for the amateur classes. The Ferrari is a very stable car, like you said, a good all-rounder car, not exceptionally brilliant, but not bad at anything either. So a good all-around car that normally you see a lot of the amateur drivers driving. But yeah, David Gardner and the Pro-Am status is just trying to keep on the tailcoat. So that battle for 19th up in front with the 3 BMWs, you can see being head out by Stuart Wyness, who's just managing to keep it up. Penkava goes a little bit wide, gives a little bit of a sniff there to Hugenhout, but unable to get it in. Obviously took it a tight line in there, so lost a little bit of speed, which opens him up a little bit for Gardner at the back. So this battle with these 3 BMWs at the moment is keeping Gardner in it, and if he can stay as close as he possibly can do coming down this Kemmel Straight, then we might see some action.
Yeah, we very well might. A little bit of action almost firing off there for Nikolai Thrain and Mike Paluch coming down into Lake Coombe. There's definite action there behind with Winkler and Deckens. Whoa, looking a little bit close there for Deckens as he tried to poke his nose in. Now Fletcher, who's recovering from that spin, looking very aggressive. A move down into Ravage, trying to see if he's able to get that move done. He's gonna have the preferred line, but it's gonna switch back through No Name.
It is, certainly is. Mark Fletcher just trying to get back some positions. Hopefully that red mist has actually died down a little bit. He's had a couple of laps to get himself back in there, but very racy and putting the Mercedes driver under a lot of pressure, going side by side here through Pouillon, trying to push the Mercedes driver, the Pro-Am driver, just slightly out wide of Martin Deckens. But Deckens, obviously, we all know is the top half of that Pro standing, so no mean feat, and he certainly won't buckle under the pressure that he's currently getting at the moment from Hubler. Sorry, from Fletcher.
Yeah, certainly won't, and not looking like he's going to buckle here early at all as they go around down through the right-hander onto full power here. Fletcher hoping to be able to gain those positions. Remember, he was running up in the top 5 before that spin caused by a little bit of an incident down through this corner in Blanchimont. Look at that closing speed of the BMW as he comes up behind Deckens. He's already looking to the outside. He's going to switch back to the inside later on the binders. Is this the move for Fletcher? Able to almost get it stopped, but blows past the first apex.
Yeah, unfortunately got that slightly wrong, just overshot the corner, got the move done going into the corner, but unfortunately couldn't get the car stopped in time, so has to come again at Martin Deckers. But Martin Deckers doing an excellent job at the moment of defending. And talking about defending, DJ, Nicholas Frayne over Marko Paulic for P8 and P9. I mean, that battle has been going on for a large portion of this race, and he's just not buckling under the pressure as the Pro-Am driver, and unfortunately Paulic behind him cannot make the overtaking move here, so this might be the opportunity he's been looking for. Right under the tailcoat of the BMW, pulls out slightly, but you can sort of see the speed difference between them two cars. As you were saying, the Audi not the fastest on the straight line anymore, and that BMW holding off, even though that Audi had that slipstream.
Yeah, that Audi looks like it's lacking the legs here, and I think for Paulic, he's going to have to get creative if he wants to get that pass done. As we jump back to check out a replay here, this is Jacob Tops going down into the bus stop. A little bit of a clobber there of the first chicane. He's going to come out here onto the main straightaway. Looks nice and clear. Oh, that's Barron slow. I think that's a cut course penalty.
Yeah, it will be. Coming out of the bus stop there, he would have got a slow down penalty if he cut one of them corners. And unfortunately, going from a stable third all the way down to 7th place at the moment, it just shows how quickly you can lose it. So we'll have a look, see if we can get a replay here. Coming down into the bus stop here at turn 19. Does he cut the next corner?
Doesn't look like it.
No. Is a very strange one. I would expect him to you have to literally cut that last corner to get the slowdown, so I'm not quite sure what actually happened there, DJ.
Well, our director, Jamie Fluke, is saying potentially it was a shifter issue, so maybe a little bit of a hardware issue there for him coming out of that final corner to take that away from him. Very unfortunate if that's the case. As we now look a little bit further back in the battle, Nikolai Thrain has a target up in front of him in the form of your former Pro-Am leader, Jacob Behrens. The race is now on for P2. Behrens losing that top position, and Scarrett now the one holding on to the top spot in Pro-Am.
Yeah, I mean, how quickly your fortunes can change in one lap round here in Spa. Classic track to drive, but when it bites, it certainly enough bites. And Behrens going from a stable 3rd overall, like you said, down to 7th place, and losing that Pro-Am win at the moment to his teammate Alexander Scarrett, who's currently up in P5. Had a very quiet race as Scarrett. We haven't really talked about him, but he's been there or thereabouts. To be in the top half of the grid is no mean feat.
No mean feat at all as we look at another battle a little farther back in the field. This is Gavin Gardner now holding off Rene Hugenhout. Remember, we were watching this battle a little bit earlier. Gardner able to get himself by Rene as they go, but now the straight line speed of that BMW, I think, is going to come into play here down the Kemmel Straight. And indeed, little bit of a bump draft, a little bit of a hey, how you doing there for the BMW behind. Thinks about pulling out to the inside. Up ahead of him, that is going to be Wyness and Penkava going side by side, and Wyness has to give up the ghost.
Yeah, I'm surprised he actually did try to bump draft him and didn't try to make the overtaking move. Currently only got just under 11 minutes left of this race to go, so I'm not quite sure why he was actually bump drafting him down the Kemmel Straights, or just to let him know he was there. But right on board here with Truxy here, P24, trying to get the 2nd place overall with Adam Morrison, not quite getting it done. That, like we said, that BMW in a straight line has got some grunt over the Porsche behind him, but the Porsche will come into its own in this section of the track. He does have somebody else in the verse behind him as well in 20th position that has come to join the fight. So you got 2 Porsches trying to overcome the BMW in front.
Yeah, trying to overcome that Porsche. Not the favored car here this season in ARL GT3 trophy, as he's definitely trying to work their way around. Kjetil Larsen, by the way, building the gap at the front of the field, setting the fastest lap of the race before it's taken away there by Jacob Toth. So with 10 minutes to go, Larsen doing exactly what he needs to do at the front of the field.
Yeah, that's our first driver who's managed to get down into the 2:14s. I mean, that's such a fast lap around here, a 2:14. Certainly after 50 minutes of racing, so Toff's really on a charge at the moment. Does have his teammate in front of him, about 0.8 of a second in front. So it's going to be interesting to see what the teammates do, whether Toffs is allowed to go past to chase down Dadswell, or Herbenau just protects his third place and his teammate just succumbs to that and decides to say that Herbenau goes down into 4th position. So ignore my last. Toff's streaking by there, so I wonder if that was a mistake there by Herbenau.
I think it must have been, as Toff's able to get that position there relatively easy as you like. Maybe Herbenau could have underfueled the car ever so slightly. He did have a pretty quick pit stop, so that could be it. He's got to save a little bit of fuel here in the final stages, but I'm not entirely sure what that was.
I don't know. I mean, looking at the pit stops, Toffs was 1/10 of a second slower in the pit stop than Herbenau. I think it was the fact that the teammates just swapped positions, because Toft is certainly on a charge at the moment, as we saw the last lap getting a 2:14, the first one of the year. We sort of see down here what actually happened. As it comes down, I think it's just a straight over switch, I think. Yeah, the overspeed.
Yeah.
Herbenau just moved out and just let Toffs by. So let's see if Toffs can catch the second place of Tom Dadswell now to have a grandstand finish in the closing 8 minutes of this race. Has a little bit of gap to go, about 3 seconds, but certainly seems to be a lot quicker out on track.
Yeah, it certainly does, to see a lot quicker. We focus back here on Tim Perry right now. Oh, Tim losing it there. That off-throttle understeer finally coming back to bite the McLaren driver.
Yeah, down through P1, and unfortunately decided to return to the pits, and we'll have the agonising weight of that tow back to the pits. Well, unfortunate there from the McLaren. McLaren can be a bit of a tall order and a handful, certainly around here at Spa, so it did a cracking job up till that moment, but unfortunately that has put paid to his race. But we join the battle again between Nicholas Frayne and Marko Paulic here, so has managed to get past him as Paulic after probably around about 35 minutes of battling out on track. But this is the other battle we were looking at. Struvener still heading off. Martin Pencava. Gardner managing to take Hugenhout. That Ferrari there is the only real change in this quad pairing of cars coming down here. But Kieran Stark seems to be doing a great job here of holding up the rest of the guys. Is that? No, it's Stuart Winnesi there.
Yes, it is. And by the way, we are getting a little bit of clarification on exactly what happened there to Jacob Behrens. It appears to be a problem with his wheel, that all of the buttons just stopped functioning all of a sudden. And so that's what it was. Our director, Jamie Fluke, was right in terms of a shifter issue. So some mechanical problems coming back to bite. But we've got to keep our eyes focused right here. Pencava looks down to the inside, coming down the Kebbel straight. He's going to have a nose ahead in that BMW as they dive onto the binders there. Wyness tries to hold it out, but it's not going to work out. Move Pencava up into P18.
Yeah, a long time coming that was. Pencava been lining him up probably around about 6 or 7 laps to try and get that move done, and finally does. And the Ferrari driver there behind is actually trying to get in the move again on Kieran Smart. So I don't think he wants to lose 2 positions. But Pencava now just getting a slight little bit of a breathing space with the pressure that Kieran Smart is coming from behind from the Ferrari driver. But we join back here with another battle out on track for P23, the second place in the AM. Tarowski there in 23rd with Alan Morrison. These two have been battling pretty much the whole entire race and pretty much staying status quo. These two not really making any challenges on each other. So at the moment, Tarowski's managing doing a cracking job of holding off Alan Morrison for that second place in the AM overall today here at Spa.
Yeah, doing a very, very good job to hold off on that. Adam Morrison kind of go around here. We've got another good battle, though. Hubler trying to close down on Ronald Grossman right now, the two of them, as they come through the bus stop here with about 5 minutes left to go in this race, as the darkness is fully setting out here on track, trying to see what they're going to be able to do.
Yeah, definitely. We saw Hubler last week have a storming round out in Montreal, literally carving his way through the field, but certainly coming under a lot of pressure there from Hubler in the Mercedes. But we join the battle again here for P23 with the amateur battles, and Van Helst is just putting a bit of a spanner in the works here for this second place of the AMs between Jarotsky and Morrison's, literally poking his nose up into the corner here of Alan Morrison, just putting him off slightly, so he's probably defending a lot harder than he wants. But one person that's made a lot of ground up after his earlier misdemeanors after a great qualifying is Christian Engelhardt. Has managed to find his way back up to the battle, so he still may get second place in the AMs, but time is certainly not on his side.
No, it certainly is not, as we have about 3 minutes and 45 seconds left to go in this race, and with lap times sitting at just over 2 minutes, we're looking at maybe 2 more laps to go by the time the leaders cross over the start-finish line. Here is a replay here from Gordon Haug as he comes down through Blanchimont. Is this going to be another sudden loss of traction? Yes, it is, and a big clobber into the wall.
Well, that's how you crash your car in epic style there. Obviously doing the 360 in the air as well. So putting to certainly his car. I mean, would you go back to the pits from there if that car was drivable? It was literally right by the pits. He'd probably lose more time by towing back than he would actually trying to drive the car back. But only he'll be able to tell. But during this battle back will be a Christian Engelhardt trying to do his best at the moment to get past Van Helmquist in 25th position, but Van Helst is not giving him any quarter and letting him join that battle for the second place in the AMs.
Yes, indeed, as here they come. Paluch trying to see what he is able to hold off on Nikolai Thrain. Again, we've talked about the outright speed of that BMW in a straight line compared to the speed of the Audi. Both drivers running a little bit wide there on the exit of La Source as they bring their way up through the corner, trying to see what they are able to do here as they go, hoping for that BMW straight line speed is Nikolai Thrain. Good run there out of La Source, and a good run there out of Eau Rouge and up over Radillon. I think this is going to be moved relatively done and dusted here for Thrain in that BMW, but it looks like Paluch is going to try to defend as much as he can coming down into Lacombe, but it's not going to be enough. The BMW is on through.
Yeah, definitely a straight line drag race there coming down Kemmel Straight there, and unfortunately the BMW. So Paluch does have it all to do again, just stuck behind that BMW. You could probably draw the back of that BMW for the amount of time he's actually spent behind him there. But another battle there between Greg Hubler out on track.
As we check back in on this battle with Turuxoy, Verhelst, and Engelhardt Morrison involved in this as well. A little bit of a diamond formation, a little bit of triangle formation as they run through the corner side by side between the Audi. As we've got a car around, and that's Scarrett. That was your Pro-Am leader.
Oh no, that's absolutely disastrous. So the two IGL coaches who are leading this Pro-Am, that is Dan Piona, and his car looks severely damaged. It's crabbing, so he is going to struggle. So that was literally coming down into Pouin, so he probably done the same mistake as we saw the McLaren driver, literally touched the grass, lost it, went out wide, and there comes the wall, bang. That'll be steering damage, and as we saw there, crabbing, so that'll put pay to his race. That's it, IGL Coatins is in this Pro-Am division has not been the best place at the first either. He's all over the place. He's literally, that is just so painful to see after what was an excellent race there for the Mercedes driver, literally trying to nurse that back to the pits. Currently in P17, but you can see he's just all over the road. I mean, his steering must be round about 180 degrees off, I think, coming down that.
Yeah, that just looks like it's all kinds of out of place as the drivers come across the line here to take one to go. That is right, Barney the Flagman waves the white flag as we've got a close little battle here between Fletcher and Deckens as they come around La Source right now. Deckens trying to see if he's able to close in. Fletcher, remember, trying to recover from that problem he had earlier back in the field.
Yeah, just looking as well, just a bit of an update. Christian Engelhardt was trying to get onto the battle for second place overall in the AMs, has actually gone into the pit, so where he came in earlier literally didn't have enough fuel to meet the end of the race, so unfortunately that will put him down the back end of the field. But you know, apart from that, it was a great recovery drive for him. But to be lucky with Mark Fletcher just trying to hold off Martin Deckens. Martin Deckens there for 11th place, so managing to keep it there, and that's unusual with that power of that Mercedes, not being able to make a move coming down into the Coombs.
Yeah, very strange as well as we watch Grossman trying to close back in on the back of Hubler here as they work their way through the fiddly bits for the last time. Here is Pencava on the long run on the Kemmel straight, trying to see if he's got anything, but breaks very, very early there over Stuart Wyness. I think he doesn't want to try to throw anything forward. The fiercely forward driver not looking like he wants to be all that aggressive.
Yeah, Stuart Wyness there going extremely late on the brakes, just not giving that opportunity there for Pencava to try and make that undercut into Lecombe. So at the moment, Stuart Wyness doing an excellent job, and we've literally just ticked over our 1 hour race, 1 hour and 1 minute. So this will be the final lap for Kessel Larsons, who has had a pretty boring race out the front of the field, not really seen a lot of action, managed to keep that 2.8 second gap as we watch him come over for another IGL Coatings win here at Spa. So a great race for Kessel Larson. Started out on second on the grid and has managed to get that position done. So Kessel Larson's take the first, does well, takes seconds. Toffs manages to get thirds. I'm quite surprised those two teammates didn't actually swap around again to give Herbanu the maximum points in the top of that championship. But obviously the teammates playing the game, and no team orders there.
Yeah, no team orders there playing out at all as we have the rest of the drivers starting to cross over the line. It looked like Deckens and Crisp. Here is that battle we've been watching between Hubler and Grossman. They're going to cross over the line in the order that they came. Not seeing a lot of dive bombs here going down into the bus stop, thankfully, as Otterholt will cross over the line to take victory there in the Pro-Am category.
Yeah, he's had a very quiet race as Otterholt, literally kept himself out of trouble, managing to secure that AM place and taking up his spot where he literally left on massively ahead of the next AM driver, who is down in P22, which is Tarowski. After that epic battle, has managed to come out on top, just literally keeping his car driving in a straight line and on the perfect line with Tarowski, where a lot of the other AM drivers seem to fall by the wayside, DJ, like David Gill there, who's currently in P24.
Yeah, I think this was just really a matter of trying to keep the car on the black stuff, not making too many errors, and watching out for the tires here, even as it tries to go as they go. Trying to see what they are able to get here in the last couple of laps. Cranley Schwa coming across the line right now. Adam Morrison, Jose Wilcox, and Graham Lynch, the last couple of drivers to cross over. And that's pretty much going to round us out here for Spa. A fantastic race here, a fantastic run. Spa delivering some very, very spicy action as always.
It certainly is, and I think it was only fitting that Jacob Behrens there obviously manages to get that Pro-Am victory in the end after that unfortunate hardware issue he seemed to have with not shifting up coming out of the bus stop of turn 20. So maybe that's a little bit of justice there for Jacob Behrens, considering how high in the grid he was through the majority of the race. So great end to his race as well.
Yes, indeed. As there you see that final finishing order on your screen. Larson, Dadwell, and Toffs, your top finishers there in the pro category. Herbano only able to hold on to P4. Sandro Marsani with a good run to come home P5. Paluch, Winkler, Fletcher, Crisp, and Grossman round out your top 10 with Smart, Wyness, Pencava, and Tim Perry unfortunately finishing 7 laps down, courtesy of that big incident that he had. Moving on over to the Pro-Am category, it was Jacob Behrens. Despite that little mistake that he had there, is still able to finish up on top. Excuse me, it wasn't a mistake. It was some hardware issues there for Jacob. Hopefully we'll be able to talk to him here in a minute. Nikolai Thrain and Martin Deckens round out your top 3. Hubler and Gardner are in the top 5 there, with Hugenhout, Regenwetter, Rance, Verhelst, and Wilcox rounding out your top 10 in class. Then we get into some of the drivers who had a little bit of a bad day. Scarrett, 1 lap down, as was Paul Collinshaw, Griffin, and Tommy Molyard. DNFs on the day, both 8 and 9 laps down, respectively. In the AM category, it was Christopher Otterholt that was able to hold on to the lead there. Following him home was Belas Taruxoy and David Gill in 3rd place in class. Sean Cranley-Schwa and Graham Lynch round out your top 5, with Adam Morrison and Christian Engelhart behind them. Engelhart and Haug a lap down, and James Chapman suffering a big issue there. But we do have a couple of drivers standing by to interview, and the first up is going to be Ketil Larsen, your winner in the Pro category here today. I've got to say, it looks like a pretty quiet race out there for you. You pretty much dominated from about lap 4 on.
Hi, thank you. Yeah, it was a good race. Found a good pace, and then I had a lonely race. I could control it to the end. It was really good.
Well, I wanted to ask you there, it looked like in the first stint you were just kind of managing the gap at about 2.5 seconds, and we wondered if there was maybe some team communication between you and Jacob Behrens at that moment, or were you kind of going all out at that point and that was all you could pull out?
No, we didn't have any agreement, but Jakob told me to pass him on the straight on the first lap, because we drove the 24-hour, so he knew that I had a little bit better pace than him. So then he let me pass, and I could manage to get a gap, and kept the gap, controlled it. But no more than that, and I could not. Maybe I could push a little bit more to extend the gap, but I didn't see the point of risking anything.
Well, it clearly paid out for you and able to take home the victory here. Looking ahead to next week, we head into a little bit of the unknown in terms of one of the newest tracks on iRacing in the form of Fuji Speedway. How do you like the chances there? How do you think that's going to go?
I think it's really open. I don't know. I tried it a couple of times. I don't have many laps at that track, so I have a week now, a little bit of holiday left, so I have to put in the hours, I think, and hope for the best.
Well, we wish you all the best when you get there, but anybody that you'd like to thank for the win today?
Yeah, of course, my team. I couldn't be here without my team. Our sponsors, Sanne Trafikkskole, IGL Coatings, and my family, and you guys to put together a great show for us. So, yeah.
All right, well, thank you so very much. That was Ketil Larsen, your overall winner and your pro class winner here today. And Andy, it looks like you've caught up with his teammate, Jacob Behrens.
Yeah, Jacob, welcome to the commentary box, mate. I mean, that was a very interesting race for you. I mean, starting off with your qualifying, putting it on to P3. I mean, how did you manage that?
You tell me. Actually, I was prepared to be a bit disappointed this week because I'm not strong at Spa and didn't do enough practice, I felt. But it worked really. I mean, 10 minutes before we started qualifying, I just got sent a setup from Ketil. And like, oh, this setup feels alright. I'll do the race in this with 10 minutes of practice and no quality. But yeah, it all just worked out. Amazing quality, and I was pretty happy with it.
Yeah, P3 on the grid, got to be your best qualifying for the season. But looking at the race, obviously you managed to make the jump on your teammate Larsen, and we just heard there that you let him through on lap number 2 to take the position, knowing that he was faster. But you were certainly having a really good battle and holding your own against the big hitters in the Pro League. Did you feel the pressure at all on that first stint before the pit stops?
Definitely in like the first few laps when I was between, well, I don't think I was between Herbino and the guys behind. Well, they were close. But I was starting, you know, when they got closer and closer and closer, I started to feel like, oh, this is going to be difficult. Luckily, that worked out until the pit stops. So you do feel it a little bit, but you get used to it, sort of. It's weird to talk about it, but yeah.
Definitely. Obviously, one of the moves that I want to talk to you about is your pass on Mark Fletcher coming down to Pouhon. Obviously, was taking that tactical off track to get the advantage of the position. Is that how you saw it?
No. Do bear in mind my mount is a bit cloudy right now, but I think he moved over very late. I felt into the outside line, so I just decided to. Well, I made a move to avoid collision, so I just dived to the inside instinctively, and then, you know, and I saw him going wide and losing space and time, and I just thought, okay, I can just smash a fall now. I have off tracks, so that worked out.
Exactly. I mean, obviously, he wasn't too happy about that, but that is racing. And then, obviously, I'd like to talk about your incident coming out of the bus stop in turn 20. So we've demised that you sort of had shifter issues. Was that the case?
Yeah, my steering wheel just decided to, you know, go to sleep. Really, just went out for a walk and didn't come back. So I had to remove the steering wheel and then put it back on. And I didn't want to do that at racing speeds because that is incredibly irresponsible. So I decided to, you know, slow down, just first gear, put it on, put it off, put it back on. And luckily it worked, but, you know, it's unfortunate and it feels really bad.
Yeah, I mean, and luckily, I suppose at the end you did manage to get that Pro-Am win at the expense of your teammate that unfortunately lost it and gave the opportunity back. But I think overall, mate, it was well deserved again, and you're really throwing the cat amongst the pigeons in this in the pro standings. Never mind in the Pro-Am. So next week we've got Fuji coming up. How are you faring for that? Being it's a brand new track on iRacing.
I don't think I've driven on Fuji for roughly 2 years. So that's going to be fun, of course. It's, from memory, it's a bit of a weird track for me. Not my strongest, and I haven't driven it on iRacing either. But I think the massive, I think that's not even a big enough word, straight, should provide some good racing into turn 1. And then the twiddly bits also should be fun.
Yeah, it definitely is. Well, if you get a setup just before qualifying and stick it on third on the grid, I'm pretty sure you'll be able to master Fuji. So congratulations on your first place in the Pro-Am. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out before we let you go, Jacob?
I forgot this last time. Shout out to IRL Coating Seed Racing and Sande Trafikkskole. I forgot that part last time, but now I remember it. And special shout out to Alexander Skada. He drove an amazing race today, his best ever, all in this series. And unfortunately, the second to last lap was, you know, bad, but he's driven really well, and I'm looking forward to seeing progress even more.
Definitely. Well, thanks for joining us, and look forward to seeing you out in Fuji next week.
Thank you very much for having me.
Jacob Behrens, obviously top of the Pro-Am standings, and like I said, DJ really putting the cat amongst the pigeons, even in that pro class.
Yeah, very, very much so. And well, folks, sadly, that's going to about wrap things up for us here today. But you heard us talk about it. Next time out, we head to one of the newest circuits on iRacing in terms of Fuji Speedway. And you are not going to want to miss that. We think that could be a little bit of an equalizer there for quite a few drivers. But in the meantime, we'd like to thank you so much for joining us here today. And on behalf of myself, DJ Clark, Andy Thompson, who's been joining me here in the booth, and our director and producer, Jamie Fluke, until we see you on the track, thanks for watching.